Should we start?
So I welcome Dr. Nikit Shah and Dr. Dipti Modak. And thank you very much, sir, for taking our invitation and coming and explaining about brain. We have a vision that all our students, teachers, and parents must know about this important organ. And we thank you for accepting this and sharing knowledge. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Start.
So, good morning, all. I think uh, when I'm talking about learning about brain, we are actually learning about how learning happens. So, there are few things which I would share with you, and it's not typical lecture how it goes, where I'm going to tell you about the learning process or how the brain learns or what we should be doing for learning and unlearning and all those things. There are few bits and pieces about brain learning, how the brain learns, which will keep coming in between. Uh, I'm going to primarily cover the correctable factors in the environment, which we often miss or we do not understand, and we do not do those things for a good learning. So, learning just doesn't mean the scholastic learning. There are so many other things which brain learns. The preschool age is actually all about learning. First 3 to 5 years is all about learning other skills, including social skills, emotional skills, developing emotional quotient, rather than actual school learning. When the base of the brain learning process is complete, then we can learn a lot of things later when the child enters the school. So preschoolers or toddlers is the age which I'm going to focus primarily upon, uh, with the correctable factors which help the brain development and brain learning. So I just quickly start and try to finish within approximately 30 minutes. So this is the title, Give Them More Cuddles and Not Pixels. I hope everybody understand what's pixels. So current scenario in we have so many nuclear families nowadays. We are in a very fastly moving world, smaller families, too many expectations from our kids sometimes. And as a parents, we have to juggle because the family size is so smaller. Parents have to fulfill all the responsibilities, including monetary responsibility, household, personal responsibilities, and they have to juggle between everything. And they have no support system. And that is why so many things happen which we do not even realize. So, to solve the puzzle of household chores, external commitments, we take easier solutions. And what is the easier solution for it? Engage the kids with screen to disengage them from ourselves. So, this is a easy solution provides us the best time management tool. I mean, screens will help you feed the child with less hassle and time. Screens will help you keep your child calm and quiet. Screens will allow parents more time to finish their other commitments. Screen helps child learn alphabets and numbers. Screens give parents peace of mind. Specifically using that word because we know parenting is not a easy job. Uh, it requires a lot of patience, and sometimes we also get frustrated as a parents, and especially when we have had a busy day at office or wherever you work. We require some peace of mind. We require some me time or our own time. So uh, and then screen replaces outdoor play when there is no children around to play. Essentially means child makes less mess, house is more tidy, uh, and less of infections because they are not playing with other kids. So there are so many advantages. Why do we use screen? I mean, these are the current scenario. These are all the practical situations. But then we all talk about we should not give screen time, and there are recommended. I mean, there are recommendations why we should have reduced screen time. So what I want to say is then why the hell on the earth everybody is talking about reduced screen time? Not only for children but even for adults. So let's understand the basics. Learning by experience. So children learn by experience. Speaking is a learned activity, but for that matter, we don't teach them how to speak. They just learn. I mean, when we communicate in our mother tongue or whatever other language we communicate in, we don't actually sit in front of them and teach word by word. We just speak with them and they understand it and they learn it and then they learn to form the sentences and stories out of it. So, how this process of learning happens? Uh, when we compare speaking milestones and other motor milestones, Motor milestones, any which way they would happen with or without we teaching them. But speaking is a learned activity. Though we don't sit in front of them and speak and teach them speaking, they still learn. But for which most important thing is uh, speaking continuously. I mean, there has to be a continuous communication for them to learn speaking. So speaking just does not mean speaking. Speaking is a powerful communication tool. That is how we communicate. Human is a social animal, and we do like to live in social situations. And for to live in social situations, we need a good communication. And speech is a mean of communication. Speech or effective communication or effective speech, effective delivery of speech has so many facets. It just does not mean the correct choice of the words. What it means is the voice modulation, ups and downs in the voice, because that definitely changes the meaning of the word. The same word can be spoken in two different ways, and it will completely mean some other things the way you speak it. Emphasis on the keywords, non-verbal gestures, which are also important part of communication, like maintaining the eye contact, hand gestures, emotions, and facial expressions. These are essential part of communication, and framing the grammatically correct sentence. That is the last part. So when we are communicating, there are so many other things which happen first before we actually speak the correct, grammatically correct sentence, so that it means what it actually means. Okay. Uh, our brain learns through five sensory organs, and we almost always never teach our mother tongue to our children. They just learn it. So how the process of speech development actually happens? So child will develop some base vocabulary as we are speaking to them. When we speak to a very young child, we try to speak them in words. So that is how they understand. We show them picture cards, we show them and we point at the thing, and then we tell them. For example, if there is a cow, we point at the cow or cow's picture, and then tell them that this is a cow. Okay. By very young age, we are not teaching them verbs and adjectives and all those sort of things. We are teaching them primarily nouns, proper nouns and common nouns and all those sort of things. That is what they have, the base vocabulary. They understand that. And then whenever there is a new sentence coming up, they try to understand the meaning by making sense of the entire sentence and the situation. We don't teach them verbs and adjectives and all those things. They just learn it. So same word, when used very frequently, they understand the finer aspects of how that word, where, when and where it is used, and how does the meaning change of that particular word. So and then these words are permanently incorporated into their memory bank, which is in the temporal lobe of the brain, and later can be extracted whenever it is required. Whenever there is a new word learned or any new learned experience, there is a new circuit formed in the brain. And when we unlearn something, or when we do not use something very often, the circuits get deleted. That is the importance of keep learning and keep repeatedly doing the things. So when we see, uh, we learn part of it. When we see and listen, we learn more of it. And when we see, listen, and then practice, uh, the retention is close to 100%. So this is how the learning process actually happens. So whenever there are more amount of inputs to the brain from the sensory organs about the same situation, then the learning is more prominent and it is more permanent. So process of learning and unlearning is at its peak between first 3 years, that is first 1,000 days of your life. And first 1,000 days of your life are extremely essential for you for learning and unlearning. When I say learning and unlearning, I do not mean the scholastic learning, but the base. We are trying to make the base of the learning more solid. So screens will never ever help you develop effective communication. There are few reasons for it. Majority of the cartoons are two-dimensional. They have a very monotonous type of language. Many of the times it is not in our mother tongue, and it lacks expression, emotions, eye contact, gestures, and a lot of other things. They being two-dimensional. So when we watch the screen, our sensory organs are blunted, and we are not exactly seeing what we see when we talk to humans. So the actual communication, the things which we discussed about what are the other facets of communication, they are the primary things which actually lack, and they are primarily important when you want to effectively communicate. As I said, communication just does not mean speaking a grammatically correct sentence. So speaking a grammatically correct sentence is only 50% of it. 50% of it is all rest of the things. Uh, Eating is the only process in day-to-day life, child's life, which utilizes all the five sensory organs together at the same time. So हमेशा ऐसे बोलते हैं कि we say in our traditional way we eat with five senses, uh, and that is important because when we eat, we feel the texture and temperature of the food, we smell the food, we taste food, we hear the crunch of the food and the chewing sounds, we see the color nature of the food, and when we are eating, we are supposed to eat as a family, not as a single person. So majority of the times, at least I would say ki 5 to 6 days in a week we should eat as a family, or we should have at least one meal with entire family, which you should make try and make possible for the good learning experience. So when we sit for a dinner or a lunch or for whatever meal you are taking with the family, we share our experiences, we laugh, we talk, and this all adds to the vocabulary of the children. This all adds to the emotional quotient of a child. A young child or a toddler is expected approximately eats like 5 meals a day. Each meal might take around 30 to 45 minutes. So total time spent around on eating for a young toddler is 3 to 4 hours in entire day, which is approximately equal to one fourth of the awake time. I mean, I understand everybody would know that child younger less than 5 years is supposed to sleep at least for 10 to 11 hours or 11 to 12 hours in a day. So 12 hours is the awake time which we need to target for them to make have a good learning and developmental experience. So 3 to 4 hours is roughly one fourth of the awake time, which is a lot actually. And if we are showing the screens when they are eating, we are essentially losing on a good chunk of time which could have been possibly utilized for stimulating the young brains. So screens while eating, the time spent might be very, very less. The child actually might finish eating in 15 minutes. You are probably fulfilling the nutritional needs of a child by feeding them with showing the screen. I mean, this is what I understand from my day-to-day practice, that most of the parents are worried about my child is not eating, my child is not gaining weight, and that's why I just want to feed him everything, and that is the only reason why I'm showing them screen, because they do not throw tantrums while eating when they're watching a screen, and they just eat their entire portion whatever we have prepared for them. uh, so that will just fulfill their nutritional needs, but not the other aspects of communication and brain development, which are very essential. I keep telling to the parents who come to me for any speech delay or any other developmental issues uh, that weight gain is not a primary indicator. Majority of the child, if you pick up 100 parents randomly from while walking on the road, 95 parents will say that my child does not eat, whether it might be a doctor's child or somebody else's child or some professional's child or non-professional children. So not eating properly or having tantrums or taking longer time to eat is normal, more normal than some child who eats at very peacefully. So children are messy, they will make 100 excuses, they'll make everything messy when they are eating, but that is all the part of their sensory stimulation. When we are showing the screens, there might be tidy, the things might be tidy everywhere, but they don't smell the food, they don't taste the food, they don't hear, because everything is focused on the screen. The primary input what brain is getting is from the vision, and rest every other sensory input is blunted. So the process which gives the maximum stimulation to the child's brain, we are taking away four other sensory inputs from the brain away when we are showing the screen. So yes, the second part of the child's life is having the peer time. Because as we talked about screen and eating, so when we delete the screens from the meal time, we are essentially spending around 3 to 4 hours with our children, which gives them a additional advantage of learning how to effectively communicate. Uh, Other 2 to 3 hours. So this when we have to typically divide a toddler's day, um, about 11 to 12 hours of awake time. We divide it between 3 to 4 major this thing. So 3 hours of meals, 2 to 3 hours of peer time. Peer time means uh, time which is spent with the children of similar age group, and 3 to 4 hours of parental time. So parental time is very, very essential. parental time means you're actually engaged with them, you're playing with them, you're talking to them, and you're doing every other activity. Engagement does not mean you're simply sitting with them. They are doing their own things and we are doing our own things. So active participation with the child is very essential in first 3 to 4 years of life. Unfortunately, this parental time is also hijacked by the screens. And that is why it is said that children who spend more than 3 hours in a day watching the screen, they are losing on to lot of learning experiences. Uh, and eating while screen is going to have an additional disadvantage other than, apart from just watching the screen. So children who do both of them, like watching the screens otherwise and while eating, are at the maximum loss. And they are the ones whom we want to target, and they are the ones who are at a maximum risk of developing behavioral deviations, which I will talk about in a while, and speech delays. So, what does screen do to your behavior? There are many things which screen does to your behavior. Uh, so, I have titled it as a stolen focus, which screen has taken over. So, focus has been taken over by the screen. If you are reading a story or a picture book and you are explaining that to your child processes the seen and heard information and has an opportunity to ask the questions, reread if the concept is not understood. But what happens if the child is watching the same story on a digital device? The content is fast moving, time given for processing the information may be very less, and there is no opportunity to learn and, more importantly, unlearn what is not understood. Videos often are interrupted by advertisement, which again deviates children from the original subject. Hence, the fast paced digital content does not let children learn and unlearn, but would make them more hyperactive and have reduced attention span. Digital addiction is, I specifically call it as addiction because it is like an addiction. The chemical changes which happen in our brain, whenever there is an addiction, if the thing is not been given, then there is a dopamine hormone which is secreted in the brain. Dopamine deficiency happens in the brain, and that is when brain wants that particular thing which you are addicted to. And whenever that thing is given, there is a dopamine surge in the brain and brain starts feeling better. That is called gratification response in medical language. So instant gratification is what happens when the children are addicted to devices. So it is similar to any other addiction what adults have, like alcohol addiction or a proper drug addiction. When the drug or alcohol is being taken, there is a dopamine secretion in the brain, and this is exactly what happens when there is a excessive screen exposure. They get addicted, and they just want it, because whenever there is a dopamine deficiency in the brain, and they just feel like I should have a screen to get that dopamine kick. So digital devices would hyper stimulate you, want to have screen for every boredom. So boredom is the time when your dopamine is not at a surge. Uh, and children also should learn how to get over their boredom, because this is part and parcel of everybody's life. But when that boredom time is replaced by the screen, that is where the starting of addiction happens. So addiction, eventually loss of impulse control. Impulse control is whenever you are not able to control your emotions. So this is exactly what happens when somebody is addicted to something. So they get addicted, and when the things are not given, they get angry. Then they lose their patience. Then they start asking for it, and if the things are not given, then there is a physical or this thing. So this is exactly analogous to drug and alcohol addiction. Rage as a prominent emotional response with every rejection happens when there is a addiction. So digital bondage. So emotional cost of a constant digital connection. Children learn social behavior through experiences and face-to-face interaction, is essential for building relationships and navigating social situation. Until verbal communication is developed, babies rely heavily upon face reading. So I think everybody may be able to relate this concept. When the babies are very young, especially less than 6 months, we try to make different type of faces, and babies do try and copy it. If we smile at them, they will smile. If we make a crying face or a A different type of face, they will try and copy. If you make a crying face, they will cry with us. If you make a smiling face, they will smile with us. So this is how the younger babies learn. This is the first step in learning the emotions. So when the screen exposure happens early, there is a lot of emotional blunting, and the emotional connection with the parents is lost. Uh, Sleep is another thing which is affected by um digital devices, and that is also very important for learning and unlearning process. Sleep is very vital for brain development. So why we say the young children sleep more, and as we grow we tend to sleep less, because learning is at its peak or its maximum capacity when the children are very young. So we don't expect a school going child to sleep in the afternoon. They just sleep in the night for around 8 to 9 hours or 9 to 10 hours depending on how young they are. And that amount of sleep is more than enough for them. But the younger children sleep more, because even without we knowing, even without we realizing that we are not formally teaching them, there is a lot of informal education happening with the experiences and the way we communicate with them. And to process all that information, to learn and unlearn few things, they require that amount of sleep. And if that amount of sleep is not provided to them, the communication, learning, everything is affected. So what happens because of screen actually reduces the melatonin response, which makes you feel sleepy. uh, and the interesting content and the scrolling on the screen, children try to postpone their sleep. So even if they are sleepy, they just don't want to sleep, and they just keep scrolling through the screen, and they feel irritated. So when we sleep less because of some reason, because of some work, the next day we also feel irritated and tired. So imagine a child who is chronically not sleeping well, how they would be feeling and how irritated they would be. uh, so yeah, chronic sleep deprivation leads to overactive children, poor impulse control, mood swings, emotionally labile child, poor concentration, learning difficulties because they do not have that additional learning inputs which happen in the sleep, and steroid surge, making them anxious and developing a metabolic syndrome, or children who are overweight and obese. Uh, Again, same thing. I don't think so. I need to explain this concept. I'll just skip through this slide. So screen time in your mind, cognitive choke up. So there is so much of content on the social media or whenever they are watching the screen, small reels, 30, 40 seconds reels, which they keep scrolling of the same subject or a different subject. There is so much of information which they are gathering, uh, but they are unable to process that entire amount of information. So if they are watching, say, 20 reels in 30 minutes, the amount of information they might be getting it, and whether they are able to process that amount of information, there is a significant lag for it. So that is why there is a cognitive choke up. So more information but less processing. So, does this mean digital devices are not worthy? I would say absolutely not if we make a proper use of it. So, science keeps evolving, and digital devices in media is a part of it. So, that is part of our scientific evolution, and we should make a better use of it rather than misusing it. So, recommendations for how much to watch. Now, these are recommendations which I have taken from WHO, but to my parents, I definitely say that even lesser than what WHO recommends. So no screen time until 2 years. I usually say no screen time until 3 years of age. Toddlers between 2 to 5 years, 1 hour a day. I usually say 30 minutes. And 5 to 10 years, 1 hour a day, against the recommendations of 2 hours. And whatever the older children are watching, the content should be definitely monitored. It shouldn't be like they are just simply sitting. You have given your phone or iPad to them, and they are watching whatever they want to watch. Uh, Sorry. So it is not a good idea just to say stop screens. If the screen time of 2 to 3 hours is taken out from the day, then what is child supposed to do during this time? So that 2 to 3 hours of time should be replaced with the parental time. This is extremely important because meal time is already, and it's kind of a fixed schedule that you cannot take it out. But
Yeah.
parental time, which nowadays we see that has reduced significantly. Uh, I recommend that that amount of screen time should be replaced by parental time. And parent, when I say parent, just doesn't mean mother. It also includes father, and it also includes grandparents. Because we have nowadays very small family size. They're only, I mean, mother and father. They are the only people who can engage with the child. But it is everybody's responsibility to have that sort of engagement. A good learning experience happens when children hear around 300 to 400 words per hour. That definitely does not happen when they spend more time with the adults. So for that sort of word exposure, they should be spending time with their peers, as they just keep chattering, chatter patter karte rehte hai. As an adult, we can't speak so many words with a child in an hour. So that's why peer time is important. uh, and peer and sibling time, again similar, for the similar reasons. And also engage the child physically. So vigorous physical activity is very essential, which stimulates the happy hormones like oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine in the brain. So whatever dopamine kick has to be given to the brain should come from the physical activity rather than screens. um, so 2 to 3 hours of physical activity is also essential. Uh, of course, when children are playing, they fall, they get injuries, they get infections. That is part and parcel of their life. That doesn't mean that they should not play with other children, because they will fall ill more often. And that is how they build their immunity. And it is said in medical field that whatever does not kill you makes you more stronger. And if you still have energy and time left after whatever we discussed so far, make use of digital devices. How you make of digital devices? So there are certain guidelines, what we call it as co-viewing the digital content. You, whatever child is watching, you also should be watching with them. You should be sitting and engaged while watching the same content. You should speak to them, explain to them, stop if it is necessary. Discuss its relevance, help children to develop the critical thinking about whatever they are seeing, and create positive digital environment. And caregivers can ensure that screen time support is supportive rather than uh, hindering the cognitive and emotional growth. So it should be limited, but in whatever limited screen exposure, also there are certain guidelines which parents should follow. Uh, Now I'll speak a brief about sleep as well, because that is another correctable factors we often ignore. Uh, so majority of the learning and conversion of short-term memory to long-term memory actually happens in the sleep. And whenever there is somebody is not sleeping adequate amount of sleep, or what does actually poor sleep quality means? Difficulty falling asleep, frequent awakenings from the sleep, restlessness during sleep, child feeling sleepy during daytime. A child more than 3 years actually does not need daytime sleep, but if a younger child needs a daytime sleep, then it is unusual. That obviously means that night sleep is not complete. And postponing the sleep, which happens with digital devices. So these are all indicators to say that okay, this everything under this comes as a poor sleep quality. A normal child should fall asleep within 5 to 10 minutes of he's on lying down on the bed. They should not need any pacifiers to sleep, and the sleep should be continuous. It should not be fragmented. Like once they sleep, they should wake up directly in the morning, after whatever adequate number of hours of sleep which is recommended for any age group. uh, so intellectual functions are affected, because we are not learning when if we are not our sleep quality is not good. Attention is affected, your behavior is affected, and physical health is also affected, because poor sleep leads to cortisol secretion, which is a stress hormone in the body. Whenever there is a stress, there is a cortisol secretion, and cortisol causes a lot of ill effects to the body in short term as well as long term. So what are the common causes of poor sleep quality in a normal child? I'll just quickly rush through it. Irregular bedtime, excessive screen time, stress and anxiety, peer pressures, negative digital environment, family stress, neglect, poor sleep environment. Whenever we are sleeping in a noisy environment, or some awake adult is awake when the child wants to sleep, or some awake adult is watching a television in the vicinity, neighborhood conditions. Adult who is arriving late from their work is also one of the important reasons. Children keep postponing their sleep because they want to spend time with that adult, and that disrupts their sleep schedule. Dietary habits like having sugary drinks, excessive desserts before sleep, caffeinated drink, all these lead to poor sleep initiation. They are unable to sleep. Once they sleep, they are sleeping well, but they are unable to sleep on time. uh, this thing also leads to sensation of hunger in the midnight because of sudden sugar rush and then drop in sugar, and they wake up in the middle of the night because they might be hungry. Lifestyle like sedentary lifestyle, poor physical activity, they just do not get tired and they don't want to sleep in the night and they just keep awake. Poor sunlight exposure is another important influencer of a sleep quality. If they are not adequately exposing themselves for outdoor play, then there is no adequate sunlight exposure, and that also leads to poor sleep quality. Behavioral issues, children with other behavioral issues like autism and ADHD, they suffer with sleep issues. Many medical conditions, poor mental health, and some nutritional deficiencies like iron, magnesium, and vitamin D deficiency also lead to poor sleep quality. So, in nutshell, lifestyle has a significant impact on our sleep. Medical conditions are only tip of iceberg. Majority of the times when we are not sleeping well, it's all related to our lifestyle, which is definitely correctable. So you should take care of your sleep, uh, follow good sleep hygiene practices, and if you just Google sleep hygiene, you will get what you need to do and what you should not do. I am not going to go into that. Avoid screen time at least 2 hours before you sleep. Engaging children in reading, listening, talking through the process of sleeping. Impact on the psychological, emotional, and mental well-being, and that also has a positive impact. I mean, sleeping well has a positive impact on child's cognitive development, problem-solving skills, establishing the focus. Nutrition and brain development, again, I'm not going to talk much about. I'm just going to give you quick tips because there is a lot of information. I'm sure every parent must be aware about it. So wholesome diet including color platters, include lemon in your diet, replace refined grains with variety of complex grains and millets, include milk products as compared more than milk. Milk should be supplement, not a replacement to milk. Substitute packaged foods, refill your fridge with fresh fruits and vegetables. Prefer eating raw fruits rather than fruit juices. Uh, Normally, it is recommended that fruit portion of twice the fist size of a child's own should be eaten per day. Keep nuts and peanuts, peanuts, roasted Bengal grams, handy. They contain a lot of omega fatty acids, which is important for brain development. Pill popping for every small illnesses, because majority of the syrups what we use for children have contain lot of sugar. So just do not treat every mild fever with some or the other medication. Let them be little more stronger. That is how they build their immunity. Should be so pill popping should be avoided. Be aware of whatever is packaged, and there are no hunger tonics. Please do not ask your doctor for it. Uh, and hopefully, uh, so this is what I uh, want to emphasize at the end. So conclusion, which might be a new beginning. If so, learning starts even before you're born. I mean, I'm sure everybody is aware about story of Abhimanyu and how he broke the Chakravyuh. So there are scientific facts which have proved that the learning starts even before you're born. First 1,000 days of life after you are born are extremely important for uh, packaging and strengthening the basis of your learning process, which would happen afterwards. uh, and that is what we call it as language and communication development. Having basics strong for effective development of communication. Time invested now, that is in the toddler age group, returns with a better intelligence, emotional and social quotient. And careful utilization of digital devices creates a positive digital environment. And take care of your sleep, which is also very essential for the learning process throughout your life. um, Thank you. And this is where I end. And I hope there was not too much of information overload. I have tried to make as things as simple as possible, which parents can understand.
Thank you, Dr. Nikit Shah.